Hi, my name is Jeff H. Sipe, and I have over 10 years of recruiting experience, including 5 years at Google. In this video, we're going to tackle a commonly asked interview question. What is your greatest accomplishment? What is your greatest achievement? Handling this question, it's pretty straightforward, but there are 5 specific items I want you to keep in mind, and all of them are critical. And stay tuned throughout. We're going to talk about why it's best to use a work example, how the scenario of company slash role might not actually have that big of an impact, etc. So, item 1, work example. Why is a work example and not a personal example really important to use? And the answer is simple. It's know your audience. And while some of your audience might appreciate a personal example, 100% of them are not going to want to hear a personal example. And so the only way you can really make sure that you are getting the right answer that everybody's going to be attached to is just play the safe bet and make it a work example. And for anybody that's accomplished something amazing in their life, whether it's you went abroad and you helped an underserved country feed poor children, or you've recovered from cancer, or you completed a triathlon, or you were the first person in your family to complete college, whatever that amazing personal accomplishment is, I think that's awesome. But it's just, again, you can't guarantee that somebody in this setting, even if they are really personable, likable, that they're going to want a personal example. And I can tell you, I asked this question in interviews and I never wanted to hear a personal example. So you get somebody like me who does feel probably warm and friendly, but I'm still looking for a work example. So I know that you might be really passionate about this personal example, but again, this is just a know your audience sort of item. Item 2 is dynamic. I think it kind of goes without saying, but you want to make sure this example is really, really dynamic. And so when you think about the core aspects you really wanted to touch on, problem solving, leadership, an ability to navigate ambiguity, drive results with data, be really flexible, and really show that teamwork capacity, ability to be a team player, work across teams, etc. Now, since this is a behavioral interview question, you're definitely going to use the STARL method. As always, I want you to focus on actions, results, and learnings. But let's pause, and the biggest one here is going to be learnings. So it's going to be a 2-tiered approach on the learnings. It's not only going to be about what you learned, but the application of those learnings. And that second part, the application of those learnings, that's what makes it such a great accomplishment, because of what you've learned and how you've been able to apply it in your future career, future positions. So really, really focus on the learnings. And that's a great segue into item 3, position and company focused. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, I'm always talking about making this connection and how important it is. But if you go with your most dynamic example, chances are you're going to have to do very few tweaks to make it company specific, company focused, because it's going to be so dynamic that it's going to touch on all these points. Now, the area where this really becomes important is if you have 2 or 3 great accomplishments and you're trying to pick which one. In that case, you definitely go with the one that's more applicable to the company. So if it's a people-facing role, it's a people-facing accomplishment, etc. So it's just, if you're juggling 2 or 3, this is where it's really important. If you have one that's just so amazing, chances are it's going to really align anyway. But of course, you want to be thinking about that piece. And I can tell you, in my interview at Google, the example that I brought up was a data integrity project that I had had 5 years earlier, but it was so dynamic. It had so many moving parts. I was working across so many different teams to make it happen. I made so many mistakes and therefore had so many learnings that it didn't matter that it wasn't in recruiting. It did have a technology component, but it really wasn't a fit. But I didn't even need to make that connection again because it touched all those other points. So just something to keep in mind. The last 2 important items, and they're important steps not to miss. I think they're pretty understood, pretty basic, but let's go through them. Item 4 is passion. And specifically when you're passionate, you want to have a connectivity in a few different ways. Body language is really positive. Your pitch and tone is up and really positive. And just your messaging, everything you say is positive. So those 3 items will really, really support your passion. If you're not passionate about it, find another example, right? And really, this is one of the answers that you truly want to spend a lot of time practicing on so you can make that connection with the passion. Item 5 is the why. And so the why is really important, and it's really important, especially at the end, that you say after you've talked about the learnings that you've applied, and these are the reasons why this has been so impactful for my career and I thought was a great example to share with you. Now, you want to be reiterating the why throughout, but really closing with the this is the reason, or these are the reasons why. It's really going to tie it all together, and it's going to be a clear delineation of an end to your answer, and chances are this answer is going to be a little bit longer. So I think the big takeaways that I look back and I was looking over my notes, and I think the big takeaways that I think are a little bit different than you're getting in the other videos are: know your audience. That's why you use the work example. It's learnings, but it's absolutely about those applied learnings. It's company specific. Maybe. If it's really dynamic, it doesn't need to be that company specific. If you don't feel the passion, they won't. And then ultimately close out and focus on the why. I hope this helps. Good luck. Thanks so much.